Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh, ah. Hello. How you doing? What a gorgeous day.
And here we are, cooped up inside this studio.
Well, I'm only cooped up for the next hour. Ha ha. Then I am heading out into that gorgeous, gorgeous day. Not to...
Yeah.
I
Screw you.
Chris Potter has awakened in a slightly cantankerous mood. But don't worry, before the show's over, we'll have him laughing. We'll have him back to his jolly old self. It is, of course, Wednesday, March 7th, the day after Super
Tuesday.
Okay, so here's my question from all of it.
Yeah.
Does Newt Gingrich like attention more than he wants to see Romney knocked off? The answer is...
Does he like attention more than he... Oh,
yeah.
I see. Yes,
yes,
he
does.
Yes.
Because if in
he likes
fact,
attention
because I
more than
thought his
anything.
animus toward Romney was so intense that even Gingrich at this point would say, you know what? Okay, I'm getting out because Santorum could conceivably take him down. I can't now. He can't do it.
Yeah, I think he's just not put together that way. He's got books to sell. These things aren't going to buy themselves, you know.
You get the impression, seriously, if these were one-on-one races, Santorum Romney, Santorum would have a respectable shot at getting this nomination.
Look at Ohio, Romney versus not Romney. He lost like 62 to 38.
Yeah,
that's a blowout, really.
Yeah, it's a blowout.
So yeah, it's kind of.
Well, the reality is, and for the Republicans, they're going to end up, in all likelihood, with a candidate they don't want.
Yeah. Well, we've all been there before, so.
God knows we have.
It's kind of funny to watch it. And, I just think, you look at, we were talking last week a little bit about the effect of super PACs. I mean, the fact is, Romney and his affiliated organizations are outspending everybody else by like 3 and 4 to 1, and he still just can't get it done. It's just you listen to these Republicans. Oh, this primary schedule is all messed up. Blah 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 blah. That's not your problem.
No.
Your problem is a massive chunk of your base of your voters are just completely off the rails. They've just gone completely off the rails, and you are. And that's what you're stuck with. And it wouldn't have mattered if you had all of your primaries on the same day in January, except Herman Cain would have been your nominee or something even crazier than that.
Yeah.
That's it. This is the problem. It's not the money. It's not the party. It's not the primary schedule. It's the problem with democracy is the voters. And that's what you're dealing with in the Republican Party. It's just people are completely bonkers.
Well, and then also though, stop and think. The people who are deciding this are a subset of a subset of a subset, and they are, as we're always informed, the most sort of fervent of folks. So the primary voters are more conservative than general election voters, and this has resulted. I mean, this continues to exacerbate this sort of pulling apart of the middle. I don't know. I'd sure like to see a one-on-one. I would. And we're not going to get it. So
yeah.
it is conceivable, I guess, that Romney gets to the convention a little bit shy of the delegates he needs. So
We'll be happy to hear that.
Yeah.
In a spirit of self-sacrifice and patriotism, Alaska's very own Sarah Palin is willing to be considered in a brokered convention.
I hadn't heard
so
that.
as long as she doesn't actually have to do any campaigning in the next couple months,
Right.
she is willing to be nominated by acclaim and to have like the oil poured on her head or whatever it is they do in the Republican.
She would like to be like the Queen of England, where
Right.
she just walks in with
Right.
sits there with
Right.
looking whatever. I don't know. So but wait, that brought. Oh dang! I hate it when my brain fails me. I can't remember.
Ah, well.
Oh, I know what I want to say.
What happened with Alaska, by the way? I didn't see.
Romney.
Oh, okay. Phew. All right. Get that critical Inuit vote.
So.
Or wait, are they Inuits or are they Aleuts?
I have no idea,
Yeah, see,
and
boy,
I
this
don't
is
know
where-
the difference between an Aleut and an Inuit, except that they're both good words to know if you do crossword puzzles.
As is alar.
As is
A-L-A-R. Yes, wing-like. It's always
That's
alar.
right. It's wing-like. Who the hell ever use it in a sentence?
You can't, because the only reason you ever use it is because there's a crossword puzzle that sometimes has an A, an L, an A, and an R and all together, and so there must just be a special like red folder. Don't you think? Like, what's his name? Will Shortz or whatever, just like reaches for the binder.
Yeah, right. But see, I've learned those words from doing crossword puzzles over the years, but you never hear them. You don't know where the hell they come from.
Right.
But you know them now.
Right.
Alar.
Yeah.
Wing-like.
That was the vocabulary portion of today's show. I like how we always do like a little bit of the English language.
Yes, we do. We do,
Permutations.
because I love language. Okay, what I was going to say, speaking of language, one Dennis Kucinich was ousted yesterday. So in the Ohio primary, because, as usual, Democrats don't vote, and Republicans do.
Right.
They take state legislatures. They just do. This is and all these states. What do you mean? He lost his seat because they
I see, because of the redistricting. Okay.
Redistricting.
Yes, yeah.
He had to go up against
Marcy Kaptur.
Marcy Kaptur, and one of them was going to, both having spent a lot of time in the Congress, one was going to lose. It's exactly what's going to happen to Jason Altmaier and Kritz, although neither of them have had as long a career as these Ohio Congress people. At any rate,
Altmaier's in trouble.
Altmaier, you think, is in trouble?
Yeah.
He's on the ballot, at least.
He's on the ballot, and I wasn't surprised by that, because as a judge, the tie goes to the runner or whatever. Generally judges don't like to throw people off the ballot unless there's something really egregious there. So, but yeah, I mean, you just look at how like say the union endorsements are going. Almost all of them are going to Kritz. I just think Jason's pissed too many people off. He's
I mean, if you want to, he's essentially a Republican. I guess. If you're a Democrat, it's pretty hard to like him.
Yeah, I mean, and not that I think that Kritz will necessarily do any better, but he hasn't been putting the screws to people for as long as Altmaier has.
But the reality is if either of them, Democrats, wanted to get elected, they couldn't be Democrats.
Yeah.
As we think of Democrats.
As we know them. As we've come to know them.
So Kaptur knocks Kucinich out.
I guess it's because he made fun of Toledo. That's what I heard.
Is that true?
He did an ad, and I heard the ad on the radio.
And Toledo's in the district?
Toledo is in the district. In fact, it's Marcy.
Well,
because I guess, I don't know what his political calculus was, but apparently this is where Marcy Kaptur is from, and he was something like, and this, I guess, is the peril of redistricting, is now all of a sudden you have this whole... like these communities that you really don't know anything about, and all of a sudden you're supposed to represent them. He was like, maybe in Toledo, Marcy Kaptur's approach to politics works. And everybody in Toledo was like, what the hell is that supposed to be? So it was just like, home of the mud hens, man. Don't mess with those people. They got a chip on their shoulder the size of something that's in Toledo that I don't know what it would be.
you know who Kaptur is now going to? She won the primaries.
Yeah, she's going against Joe the
the Plumber.
Yeah.
She will.
She's going to
run
obliterate
for,
him.
She
She's
will
going to cream him.
destroy that nincompoop.
He barely won his primary. I saw. He only won by like 51-49, and against somebody who I don't think people even know who he was exactly. That guy's such a joke, man. I'm happy to see him get.
Oh, here's a good Santorum quote that Mother Jones dug up.
Ooh.
In 1994, he said that single mothers like me were destroying the fabric of the country, breeding more criminals. His solution?
Breeding.
Kick them in the butt.
The children or the mothers?
The mothers, no doubt.
Kicking them in the butt.
Yeah, well,
That sounds like it would work.
That's a great policy. Yeah. Single mothers, breeding more criminals.
Because what's the idea? They're all going to be on welfare and not give them dad values or something.
We are seeing the fabric of this country fall apart, and it's falling apart because of single moms.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Rick, I'm sorry. I take responsibility
my mother
for
too.
the entire the disintegration essentially raised you. Yes,
Yeah.
right.
And consider. I mean, consider the results.
Look at that.
I mean, we got to admit the guy has a point.
Maybe he does.
That was, when did he say that?
1994, his first Senate campaign.
See, we had a chance. We'll never be able to atone for this.
Yeah, I didn't vote for him.
I didn't either, but you still, you can't.
He said this at the Clairton Town Hall. He came with a prop, a poster-sized chart tracking the increase in the welfare rolls since '65, alongside the increase in children born out of wedlock.
Wedlock.
That's
one of my favorite words.
Wedlock. Santorum introduced legislation as a congressman that would have required single mothers who had been on welfare for more than 2 years to work at least 35 hours a week in order to receive benefits. Now, wait a minute. So what about, let's say that single mother had 2 children at home in need of care.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, right? And she can't afford to have somebody. What was he thinking?
I don't know. Under his plan, which did not pass Congress, unwed teen mothers would not be eligible for welfare at all. There you go. Good job.
And no woman could get benefits if they could not identify their child's father. What
if they had passed that, every single woman should identify Rick Santorum. Him! He's the one!
That man right there. Oh, my God.
Just give your kid the dweebiest haircut possible and say, see the resemblance?
You think he
Put him in a little sweater vest.
You think he has a little sweater? You think he has a dweeby haircut, Santorum?
Who am I to say?
He looks fine.
I just think he's a dweeb.
Yeah.
Looks like.
Okay, so so there it was, Super Tuesday, and
it will continue. The battle will go on, apparently, which is good for us. I mean, the longer that goes, the crazier stuff. The longer that thing goes on, the crazier stuff Mitt Romney has to say to get elected.
Well, that's true. And if in fact, too, Romney continues with the sort of MO he has had, is that immediately after a win, he says something really stupid or funny. I mean, unintentionally funny. Yeah. So we will look forward to that.
And I was watching one of those morning shows today. That Eric Cantor guy was like, well, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton had a long primary in 2008, and it's just like completely different dynamic. I went because they weren't crapping all. They went at each other. Ugly. They went at each other, but there wasn't among their respective tribes. And I can say this as somebody who, there were Hillary Clinton supporters within my household, but there was not. You got the sense, you knew all the way through that whichever one got picked was going to be relatively palatable to the other, and we were all going to get behind that person. It was just a whole different feel, and you don't necessarily feel that way at all about what you're seeing on the.
I don't think that was necessarily totally true, because I do think there were Hillary voters who were not going to vote for Obama. Some of those ladies got a little bit strident, I thought.
That's true, but I think
they did. They really lost it.
I think that stuff was media hype, a lot of it.
Do you?
I think there's a handful. Of course, there's always going to be your dead enders. as a former defense secretary would say. But
okay. Oh, please, okay, well, that's it. Yeah.
Do you want to share?
Breitbart?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, no.
They find out what killed him, by the way?
I think it was a heart attack.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. That guy looked like he was having a heart attack almost every time I saw him.
I mean, right. He looked like he was just gonna blow, and he did. He blowed. He blew.
Yeah.
He
blew all right.
His father-in-law was Orson Bean.
I did know that actually.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Okay, so how many advertisers has Limbaugh lost?
I heard 20 odd at the last count I heard.
I thought it was more than that now. But it just keeps on a-coming. And you got to wonder, there's no way they can take him down. I don't think. Do you?
No, but I mean, who cares? It's you got to do something. You can't just let these guys just run roughshod over human beings like that. So even if it doesn't necessarily end up getting him off the air, it's here we go. What do we got?
Limbaugh's brother David has tweeted that this jihad against Rush is a distraction, and then he goes on to accuse people like us of a calculated, organized, Saul Alinsky type.
Everything's Saul
community organizing.
Everything's a jihad, and everything's Saul Alinsky. Beep, boop. See, just like there's a folder with words for use.
That's right. It's just unbelievable. In
crossword puzzles, there's another folder that's just like Alinsky, jihad.
That's right.
Socialist, blah blah blah.
That's right. And sometimes they get them mixed up. Because what was it? Was it Limbaugh's? I don't know. No, it wasn't Limbaugh's. It was Gingrich's or Romney's spokesperson at one point was putting a bunch of those adjectives together and actually accused Obama of having a militant Islamic agenda.
Whatever. Who cares? It was something. I didn't like it. That's what I'm trying to say. I was against it. The funniest thing about that, you probably talked about this on the show, but there's like the whole premise. I don't know if you listened to his whole screed about her.
Well, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, he's just like, she's having so much sex that she's just like, really, you pretty much just take the same number of pills
every day. What does he think? He had no idea.
Well, I think he thinks he must think that it's like Viagra, where whereas he knows better than most, you gotta pop one of those. There is a
pop one of those babies if you want. If you want to have your anatomy functioning. Yeah. The fact that it doesn't function is an indication from God that it's really not intended to anymore. Meanwhile, and on that subject, Ohio State Senator Nina Turner has introduced a bill aimed at cracking down on prescription drugs like Viagra.
Oh, yeah, good.
Her legislation would make men have to go through psychological screenings to get their Viagra. And I think that's an excellent idea, and she said, I care about the health of men.
Yeah, right.
And
she should also have to do a proctological exam. Not that it has anything to do with it, but you should just do it.
Yeah, why not? We make sure that a man is fully informed of the risks involved in taking these drugs and also the alternatives, such as natural remedies or celibacy. Oh, dear God. Oh, Lord, help us.
That's good. Good for her.
Obit of the day, Bob Sherman.
Oh.
No, I wouldn't know him either.
Okay.
But you know his music.
Oh, okay. Do I?
Yes.
Was it the lead into the show?
No.
Sorry.
I'll start, you finish.
Okay.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
I don't remember how it's...
Come on!
No, I'm sorry.
Even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious.
Yeah, I don't remember.
If you say it long enough, you'll always sound precocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Wow. It's a nice tribute. That's
okay,
good.
there it was.
That should have just been the entire obituary right there.
He also is responsible for a song that drove me insane on a ride at Disney World.
It's a Small World after all?
Uh-huh.
Really?
Oh, there's nothing like that song.
And there's little
in
figures.
A constant loop. Yeah, right.
Figures.
In a constant. It's a small world after. You know, it almost makes you want to. Yeah, it makes you want to like mow down a bunch of preschoolers. Of course I am.
Well, you know what? As long as those preschoolers belong to single moms.
That's right. We'd be actually doing a
judge?
service
That's
to the. And of course, Chim Chim Cheree. And he wrote that great Annette Funicello hit, Tall Paul. And Tall Paul. Do you know that one?
No, but it sounds great.
And also another one.
Was that it? Was that the whole song?
No,
right
I
there?
have no idea. And JoJo the Dog-Faced Boy.
Oh, surely.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
He did get an Oscar for what? I don't know, for something. He got an Oscar for one of these songs. So there you have it. For what it's worth, he was old.
And now he's, well,
dead. One usually follows the other.
Yes.
And it's good that when that happens,
That is
because
the
you
circle
don't
of
want you don't want young and dead. You want old and dead. That's the natural order of
Yes,
things,
yes.
is it not?
very profound.
Okay, I thought so too. Now what? Actually, I have a bunch of local kind of state and local things. I can't even get it over there. Your paper came out today. Is there anything in particular we should note in it?
We actually have a couple good stories. One which people may be amused by is our very own Chris Young took a look at how Pittsburgh city officials spend the money that's contributed to their campaigns. You know, everybody, reporters are always good about looking up to see who they get the money from. But,
Yeah, but
people
they
don't
not
really look to see
necessarily
like where it's going.
Don't tell me Viagra.
No, that's insured. Why would they have to?
Oh, okay.
No, actually, probably the most interesting one is our very own Mayor Luke Ravenstall, who spent, for example, last year something like $10,000 on Super Bowl travel and tickets. Routinely spends money paying country club dues at a golf club outside.
Well, now
of
wait a
town.
minute. If I give money to him, I don't want it to go to country club dues.
Yes, that's an interesting thing. Yes, and of course the problem is that
there no law?
there is a law, but the law is really, really, really vague.
Yeah,
What the
there's
law
that.
says is money spent by your campaign must be used to affect the outcome of an election, which sounds like, okay, well, that seems straightforward, but actually it's really vague. So, for example, he could, in theory, justify going to the Super Bowl and spending money out of his campaign because
He had to
he will
schmooze.
be schmoozing with Pittsburgh business leaders, da-da-da-da-da-da. I mean, it's kind of a crazy thing to think that, the very thing that justifies this money is your ability to go raise more of it.
Yeah.
Similarly with the golf club and everything
Same thing.
else. Yeah. I mean, but on the other hand, I think there's a pretty strong argument, that says, look, I mean, if it's defined that broadly, and it is, I want to make this clear, there's no reason to think that anything that the mayor did here was illegal. It just raises the sort of weakness in the law for a lot of people. And the answer is, okay, so if you can pretty much use the money on any damn thing, then really what's the difference between making a contribution to a campaign and then just giving the mayor $100 and saying, have yourself a good old time?
That's right. That's right.
I mean, and as a practical matter, there really isn't a difference. So we looked at he was the most obvious example, but there were a few others sort of interesting.
Pennsylvania has, if you compare its laws with other states' laws, has just
it's ridiculous.
extraordinarily, embarrassingly, unconscionably loose or non-existent ethics laws all down the line.
Yeah.
I mean, all down the line. There is
Just one of the worst. No limits on contribution size.
and if you have no limits, as Pennsylvania has,
no limits. Sorry.
you have, it goes without saying, you're going to have corrupted government.
You call it corrupted government, but I call it extreme politics. No limits, baby.
I couldn't believe. It's unbelievable.
Let's go to the Super Bowl.
Do we blame all this on lack of sleep, or are you getting in a better mood?
No, I feel a little better, I guess.
That's good. See, nothing like a serious intellect. What?
Perky Potter.
Yeah.
Perky.
Perky Potter.
perky is not exactly a word I would associate with you. Perky.
Your producer is perky.
My producer is perky. Perky is not something I would ever be called. Who would be called perky first, you or me?
Oh, that's a good question. Me, probably.
Do you think?
I don't cultivate the curmudgeonly thing the way you do. You work at it. You.
I don't cultivate it. It is.
It is.
They're those black things again. I'm having an eye problem. I'm hallucinating. I am! Is there a black thing right there? No, there isn't, but I'm seeing it. I think that's called a floater. My eyes are giving out. What does that mean? A detached retina? Are there any eye doctors in the audience? Eye doctors in the audience, please.
Email us now.
Really?
The address is...
I got black things floating around. Jeez. We better take a break. Yes. I got to catch one of these babies and prove to you that they exist. Okay, we'll be right back.
Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com or call Lynn at 412-316-3381. Lynn Cullen Live will return in a moment.
Pittsburgh City Paper's annual summer camp preview is available now. Pick up one today for A Streetcar Named Desire, The Blues Brothers Review, and Mo. Pittsburgh City Paper, available at over 1,700 locations throughout Western Pennsylvania and on the web at pghcitypaper.com.
It takes 12 years to create a graduate. It takes about the same time to create a dropout. And at the end of the day, the difference between a child becoming one or the other could be you. So United Way is asking you to make a pledge. Tutor a child who needs help. Mentor a kid who needs someone on their side. Volunteer to read to children. Because when a child advances, we all advance. Be a reader, tutor or mentor. Give, advocate, volunteer. Live United. Take the pledge now at liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Have a question or an opinion? Call Lynn Cullen at 412-316-3381 or email lynn at pghcitypaper.com. Now, more with Lynn Cullen Live.
Well, Margaret has answered the question. She says, you are perky, not
That's
me.
right.
No, perky.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah. Okay, I got a few little items that I pulled out of the paper. This one blew my mind. So the federal...
There's a blinking phone call. God, I hope this is an optometrist.
Hello?
Ophthalmologist?
Hello?
Hi.
Hi.
I just had a question for them.
Okay.
Oh, you're there. I'm so sorry. Hey, do you guys have any scoop on the Jay Norrie trial?
She's going down, I'll tell you that. That's the
yeah,
scoop.
I haven't read much. I'm like, what's happening? Do you know any background news?
No, she's very upset.
I want to know now.
Okay, she's very upset because she does not. Orange is not her color, and she's going to be, wearing those orange jumpsuit really soon. Jumpsuits aren't her thing either, as a matter of fact.
Well, I just hope it's equal opportunity because plenty of Democrats have gone to jail.
You got that right.
That's right. And the pressure on her sister, her sister, is growing and intensifying. And before this thing is over, all three of these Ori sisters are going to be toast. Mark my words, they're gone.
There was some testimony the other day, and I haven't been following the trial that closely because, of course, every other media outlet in town is there. So, but there was some testimony I saw reported that named Justice Melvin, and I just thought, I don't know. Yeah, this is if this is what's in store, she's in a lot of trouble.
She should be gone. She should have stepped down. I mean, it's pretty outrageous that she has not. But Jane, and I don't know about Janine. Jane's going to jail.
Jane's going to jail.
And I don't particularly feel vindictive. I see you guys have touched upon how things have kind of run wild in Pennsylvania, and a lot of things are lost or lack of institutional control.
Right.
But I have to tell you, the fact that the sister won't step down, just the arrogance, is what's offensive to me. They're arrogant.
Right. Yeah. You got it.
Just go into, hiatus. You don't have to quit, exactly.
You can just say, while there is this, blah, blah, blah. I don't speak that kind of talk. But yeah, I will step down, and
for the sake of the integrity of the
court.
judiciary.
Yes, and I will be. I will hope to come back when my sisters and I are
exonerated, as I'm sure we will be.
That's right.
And I have to say, too, you two opened the show, and that made me almost tie it together.
Yeah.
With the way people are allowed to say whatever they want, and people compare, well, the Democrats said this, but that was a public figure, but it was. Here's what I find with Wisconsin attacking the unions,
right.
All these things that are happening. What I find a little horrifying is it always was that way. They were against unions. They were against more blue-collar, middle-class people. They are not afraid to be out in the open about it anymore.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
They're shameless. They're shameless. They absolutely are. Every time something happens, I think, how can they possibly defend this? They do, and they do with aplomb.
Yeah.
They
are absolutely shameless.
Yep.
And I cannot back this statistically. I read it in some comment somewhere where the writer did back it statistically. We're all a little tired of, we pay for your welfare, your this, your entitlements, all this stuff. And he actually posted the numbers that the blue states pay so much more tax that we're actually supporting them.
That's true, and that is true. It's statistically, absolutely. I mean, as a matter of fact, the numbers that prove that come from the government itself.
Right.
So,
so you got to worry about that culture of dependency in some of those,
in all those Republican states. It's the Republican states that live off the government.
It disappoints me that my fellow middle-class kind of people do not see that. Do you see how brilliant they are?
Yeah.
They're tearing us apart.
Yep.
We're enemies with each other.
Right.
Do you not see what's happening?
Yeah, I hear you.
Good call.
But anyway, sorry, guys, I was all over the place, but I really enjoy you.
Good call. Thank you.
Okay, thanks so much.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. No, I happen to be talking to a Republican in the know about it. I asked the same question she just asked.
Which
said,
one?
So, about the Ories.
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh.
He said they're toast, essentially. Toast.
Although, the first Joan, the
trial.
First trial. I think it was the foreman of the jury was interviewed and said, all these politicians mix some of that stuff together. It's just like, why do they always get that guy and, DeWeese and whoever gets the,
Man, Vion might never see the light of day again.
Yeah.
Really?
Well,
really?
Yeah.
Although
it seems nice, like every couple months. He's guilty again.
He's guilty again.
Oh.
Let's tack another 15 to 20 on here.
Right. He's like the scapegoat that they put their sins on and then send
I
out.
love the name of his co-defendant. Rose Pink.
Yes.
Wouldn't you think it'd be Pink Rose? A Rose Pink.
By any other name, she's still doing a nickel's worth.
Rose Pink. I think she's heading to the hoosegow too. Okay.
Hoosegow.
I don't know where that comes from. Do you? Hoosegow. Look it up. The derivation of HOOSEGOW.
Yep.
The hoosegow.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's move over to. Well, we've sort of been around there since we're in Harrisburg territory.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so let's go to the state capitol there and to a budget hearing in the House. Mm-hmm. Okay?
Yes.
Appearing before the budget hearing in the House, the Secretary of the Department of Environmental Protection, which is, of course, yes, hoosegow?
Hoosegow
is?
It comes from Mexican Spanish,
It comes from...
Oh, yes. I knew that, actually.
It comes from Mexican Spanish...
Juzgado, I think. Juzgado.
Juzgado, which means jail?
Spanish. It's Mexican Spanish for...
Okay, so it came from...
Juzgado.
Do you see how those people are infecting our language?
Yes.
I didn't even know. I'm speaking some kind of illegal immigrant talk.
Daryl Metcalf.
And of course, Lotus, what word of theirs gets into our language? Jail.
Moreover,
God.
Moreover, let's reflect that that word has been in common usage for decades. It infected our very TV westerns
with their zoot suits. Those wetbacks with their zoot suits. Isn't
They're
that
menudo.
Yeah. Jeez. All right.
And bands like Los Lonely Boys, which is Spanish for the Lonely Boys. Just in case Daryl Metcalf's listening and wasn't sure what was going on with that.
We don't want to upset Daryl.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so back to the House and to this budget hearing,
yes,
where the head of the Department of Environmental Protection, which is always sort of, I stop and sort of have trouble saying that because, of course, anytime Republicans are in charge of the Department of Environmental Protection, that is a total misnomer.
Right.
They have no intention whatsoever of protecting the environment.
Right. They're protecting industry from the environment.
That's right. That is absolutely what they're for. And so now, with the Corbett regime, we do have a man at the head of the, ridiculously named Environmental Protection Services, Michael Krancer.
Yes.
And he, normally when you head a department, you're always asking for more money. You're saying, I cannot do this job that you put me in charge of doing. How can I do this? He was there, actually arguing that his decimated budget would have no impact whatsoever on the quality of work that his department would do. Get this. In 2008, the DPA had a budget of $217 million.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So 4 years later, that's now, he is perfectly happy to have it at 127, almost cut in half.
Right.
And this at a time when the state's environment is under greater threat than it has been since we lost our industrial, soul, I guess.
Mojo.
It's unbelievable.
Right. He's like that guy, if you've ever seen that TV show Parks and Recreation. He's the guy who runs that department. It's really not our job to do things.
Department of Environmental Protection.
Yeah.
How, with a straight face? How can these people, how do you take over? Is there somewhere where it was created, the Department of Environmental Protection, where obviously some kind of a mission statement was was composed and stuck in the legislation, in the enabling legislation? And if you were to look at that.
Right. In fact, if I recall correctly, that agency years ago used to be the DER, the Department of Environmental Resources, and they split it into two different things. And DEP was supposed to be purely the enforcement arm, and then the other side was DCNR, the conservation, natural resources, the parks, and all that stuff. So they deliberately created the DEP precisely to be in the cop. In the cop, exactly, protecting the environment. So,
but they just beyond belief. Anyway. Okay, and here's another, your government at work. So heading over to the feds, this is the Mine Safety and Health Administration, okay?
Right.
They're responsible for making sure that the mines that workers go in are safe as mines can be.
Right.
Well, as you know, that was certainly not the case with the Upper Big Branch mine, where 29 miners had their lives snuffed out. And there has been a 2-year internal review by the federal agency that should have been overseeing the Upper Big Branch mine, namely the Mine Safety and Health Administration. And they've looked at what their people did and what they didn't do. And here's what they said. The internal review team is confident that inspectors would have cited the violations if they had observed them. The fact that we sent...
I feel much better.
The fact that we sent blind inspectors in has nothing to do with it. And here, they come to that conclusion, essentially exonerating these guys. And this is after, in other parts of their report... Wait, it's just too funny. Where is it? I got to find it. It's beyond belief. Other parts of their report, they talk about all the things they, in fact, had failed to do. And then they exonerate them. I can't find it. Damn it, I hate that when that happens. So, what good is an internal report anyway? Letting people essentially decide for themselves that they are in no way culpable.
Right.
How does that work?
Well, that's how it works. Yeah, well, I mean, you have an internal review to cover your own ass. I mean, that's the basic thing. I mean, that's what you do. That's what you do. So.
Well, I'm sorry, I can't find that because that was the funny part of that statement. Oh, papers, and more papers.
Thank God print journalism's almost dead, huh?
What am I gonna do?
I don't know.
Jeez.
What am I gonna do? I think it's the better question.
That's true.
The one a certain 10-month-old is probably beginning to cogitate over.
Oh, you'll land on your feet somewhere.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Be a squeegee guy.
Okay, so some guy who's been around ever since I've been in Pittsburgh, it seems, heading the county.
A telephone call.
Hello, caller. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Hi.
Lynn.
Yeah.
Let me get away from this dog run. I'm confused with watching the computer. Do you understand the concept of tort?
Tort?
Tort. The legal term tort.
I believe so.
Okay. Correct me if I am wrong. My understanding of tort was that it was started back in English law a very, very long time ago. And the whole idea was to civilize, if a brother was killed by one person and the other brother would come in and defend and get revenge on his murdered brother and kill the person responsible, and English law made it civilized, so to the point where no, you would not get revenge on your brother. We would bring it into a court of law.
Right.
And am I correct in that statement?
That works.
Yeah. I was just
you're
wondering, and I don't understand why it is we have taken so many things off the books in the United States of America where no, you cannot sue.
Oh, I see.
It doesn't make any sense to me. Why would we do that?
I'm drinking. You answer. I'm sorry. You got me admitting.
Mainly because lawyers contribute to Democrats. Personal injury lawyers, personally injury lawyers, have to be reined in because that infringes on corporations' ability to make a profit.
Okay.
I think
doesn't make any sense.
Well, no, I think we should just go back to the old way of just,
honor
That's
killing.
the whole idea of tort is for to have your day in court.
Yeah.
If I can't get revenge one way, I should have the right to get my day in court.
Right.
That is absolutely correct. Absolutely.
Well, honestly, my brother works for UPMC, so I'm pretty confident about his ability to go and avenge me for any wrong done unto me. You know what I mean? He's got power. He's got money. He could take care of it. I don't need.
He
lawyers
works
to
for
stick
the
up for
great
me.
Satan.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
I'm out of here. Thanks for taking my call.
Okay, thank you. I did find that scrap of paper I was
good.
looking for. Okay, so the
Here we go.
the Mine Safety and Health Administration, again, as I said,
Yes.
is confident that their inspectors would have cited the
I feel much
violations
better.
if, in fact, they had seen them.
Yeah.
Still, however, they did acknowledge that the inspectors failed, in fact, to enforce penalties for flagrant violations, such as they didn't in any way enforce the fact that Massey Energy had dangerous accumulations of combustible coal dust lying around. Ventilation wasn't right. They failed to address roof deficiencies. They neglected to check the calibration of gas detectors, and they never even bothered to look at the mine's record books. This is our fine inspectors, but they in no way are culpable.
Right.
And
it's
the
consolation that we are offered as taxpayers is
what?
Our inspectors were merely incompetent, not corrupt.
I guess that's sort of what
that's
it boils down to. They just...
You'd think a mine inspector would recognize coal dust. What's that black stuff over there?
Yeah.
No, it's just pencil shavings.
Have a little thing they could pull out which would read the levels of carbon monoxide, and I guess they failed to do that. Or you would think they would like to look at the record books to see. They didn't. What did they do?
Yeah. Checked out the donut tray, probably. Oh, is that hazelnut coffee? Oh, you got those little flavored creamers. Ooh.
You know, last week when you were here, because you were doing that voice, we were talking about the Yoopers.
The
Yoopers?
Yeah.
And I said, why the hell is that part of Michigan? It's obviously somebody I had a 20-page treatise, and it had to do with a war over the aforementioned Toledo.
Wow.
I am not kidding. Ohio and Michigan were fighting over Toledo, which is right on the border. I mean, when you're at Toledo, they were fighting over it, and the Congress...
They were like, you have it. No,
they
you
wanted
take it.
It was a port. It was a seaport.
Yes, yeah.
So they wanted, and what ended up happening...
I just blew my chances of ever winning a race in the Ohio 9th District just with that joke alone.
Yes, you did.
Anyway,
yes,
go
you
ahead.
did.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
So...
They were arguing over...
So Ohio was given Toledo, and as a consolation prize, they said to the pissed-off Michigan territory folks, look, you can have that... You see that big hunk? That you can have 2/3 of that peninsula that juts out, even though it sure as hell looks like that should be Wisconsin. But we'll give you 2/3 of it.
Why was Ohio in a position to dispose of that land in the first place?
Ohio wasn't. Congress did.
Oh, Congress did.
Congress gave Toledo, Ohio,
yes,
and gave Michigan as a consolation prize the So
was Wisconsin not a state then and had nothing to say about it?
None of them were states. They were all like,
see.
They were all territories, I guess.
There were similar disputes here, There was a big thing about whether this was Virginia or Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So, that makes sense.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Okay, I think we have to take another break. I don't want to, but I have to. And those black things are still floating around.
More is on the way with Lynn Cullen Live.
Go to bergbargains.com for great deals on tickets to the ballet, opera, city theater, science center, symphony, history museum, and the Carnegie. bergbargains.com, Pittsburgh's only online deal site where the deals don't expire. bergbargains.com.
Weekly Med Spa is Pittsburgh's newest med spa, offering the latest in skincare treatments and medical-grade skincare products. Their providers have years of experience with aesthetic treatments and technologies such as Botox, Restylance, Juvederm, chemical peels, Retin-A, and spider vein treatments. They offer a discreet, personalized environment with only the best quality proven services and products. Call them today for a free consultation. 412-259-8628. The Sewickley Med Spa. 412-259-8628.
Now it's back to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com.
Okay, we are back. So Sunday, I went to the August Wilson Center and the play, The Gammage Project.
Oh, yes. What did you think?
Oh, my. It was... well done.
Yeah.
And what a reminder of that horror and how that played out. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yep.
That a young man, no record, this is just a fine, young, 31-year-old man, gets pulled over for no reason.
Right.
Nothing was wrong. For no reason. And 5 minutes later is dead. 5 cops and him. And not one cop ever was punished. In fact, the one who they think was the chief murderer, John Votis, got promoted.
Yeah.
By the Brentwood police.
Yep.
Even though they had to change, you know what? They had to change the... you have to take a test to get to be sergeant or something, and he just totally, didn't get anywhere near the number he needed. They lowered the number so they could make Votis a sergeant or whatever the hell they made him. It is so unbelievable to sit and be reminded of that. And then we have the Jordan Miles case, which in fact is similar in that here's a kid walking from his grandmother's back to his house. He's minding his own business. He's unarmed. He has no record. He is of no threat to anybody. And the next minute, he is in the hospital with his face looking like something out of a monster movie after his encounter with 3 Pittsburgh police. And the odds of anything happening to those cops...
Zero.
Well...
It's done. It's over.
Okay, but wait.
There'll be a civil trial, but they've been reinstated. They're...
Well, did you... Okay, so I'm confused. Nothing's going to happen to those guys either. And wait a minute, though. So there is a civil rights trial before a federal judge that is going to start on July 15th.
Right.
And that, I thought, is for a violation of his civil rights.
Yeah, but that's a civil suit as opposed to any kind of criminal charge.
But so if in that trial they are found to have violated his civil rights, who's the culprit then? Who pays for that?
The city will cover.
So it'll be a fine. Nobody goes to jail.
Yeah, it'll be like a product liability suit, or I slipped on your sidewalk. There'll be money.
But the city has said whatever it is, we are paying. So you and I are going to pay. The taxpayers.
Yes, the taxpayers will pay. Right. So what happened? I mean, part of what's going on is when this suit was filed, there was a series of allegations, and one was that the cops, did what they shouldn't do. But then there were allegations that the city as a whole failed to properly train them. And what has happened is that part of the suit that makes allegations faulting the city for its training and disciplinary, that has now been set aside. The Miles family has settled that part of the case with the city. The accusations against what the officers did that particular night, of the actual
use
encounter,
of excessive force.
Yes, that stuff still remains. But even if the process fines for the Miles family, the cost of any judgment will be borne by the city, because these guys were acting
Employees
under color
of
of city law, so the city authorities. So that's what happens. But in terms of there being any criminal thing, I mean, the Justice Department, reviewed this, decided it would not press criminal charges, because you can file criminal charges in the case of a civil rights violation. Very often when people are hurt, they have said they will not do that. The last I heard from DA Zappala's office is, well, we're still looking at it, but I mean, there's no credible theory which says that if they haven't done it by now, they're just not going to do it.
Well, the thing in did you see the Gammage Project?
I haven't seen it.
Okay, it's over. So the Gammage Project points out over and over again that cops, as in the Gammage case and in the Miles case, cops are never criminally held liable.
Yeah, almost never.
Never.
Yeah.
I don't think ever. And one of the reasons they kept saying is one of the reasons it's so hard to convict a cop is because the district attorney, the prosecution, works cheek and jowl with the police.
Yeah.
So that the police are usually on the prosecution's side, and the prosecution relies on the police. There are strong friendships and collegiality between the two, and
very often one will go to work for the other. A
right,
police
exactly.
officer will try to go become an investigator for the DA.
So they go back and forth. So here, all of a sudden, you're asking the prosecution to go after its own people, essentially.
Right.
And I guess they get really queasy. But how is that different than an internal review? It's the same thing.
Right.
And you can't expect justice.
We got a call.
Hello, caller. Hi.
Hey, Lynn, Mike in the Netherlands here. How are you?
I'm fine. Hi,
in the
Mike.
Netherlands.
Hey, actually, my second hometown of Philadelphia, they prosecute a lot of police officers there. As a matter of fact, a police officer just got life in prison without the possibility of parole for killing a kid on the street. He wasn't in uniform. He was a cop, though. There was a fight in front of his house. He came out, was drunk. The kid said, "You're not going to shoot me." He pulled out his gun and shot the kid in the chest and killed him. And he got life without parole.
Well, here he'd get promoted.
Yeah, right, yeah. Especially if it was a black kid.
Yeah. Was this a black kid? Was it a black kid?
No. It was a kid in the city.
But a white kid. He killed a white kid.
Port Richmond, which it's a mix. It's very mixed there. It's very diverse in that area. So, but yeah, they killed him. And the really sad part about it was his friends threw him in a car and took him to a hospital that had closed that day.
Oh man!
And the kids were unaware that the hospital had closed, and they're running around all these buildings, the whole building, knocking on the door, trying to get somebody.
How awful!
Security guard finally came out and said, "We're closed." And they just closed it, and they had to. They burned, 25 minutes. They said that he probably wouldn't have made it anyways because he shot him right in the chest.
Yeah.
But he got life without parole.
Okay, well that's good.
I think Philadelphia's a lot different. I dealt with a lot of police officers in Pittsburgh, including the aforementioned Votus.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah, I had some run-ins with him. My wife was born and raised in Brentwood. I think everyone who lives in Brentwood has a John Votus story.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
Whether good or bad.
Yeah.
But I met him one time with a traffic violation, and he was not the nicest person in the world.
Well, you're just lucky you have white skin. Because you very well might be not having this conversation now. If you
I was on my way to get my inspection sticker had expired the day before. I was on my way to a garage to get it inspected, and he pulled me over.
Save it for the judge, pal.
You can follow me to the garage to see that's where I'm on my way to. And he still gave me a ticket of $180 or something like that. And I was like 19. $180. I hadn't seen that in 7 months when I was 18. Yeah. So the Philadelphia police are a lot.
Well, that's the Philadelphia. You know what? That's the Philadelphia DA is a lot more, aggressive. And in fact, it's the Philadelphia DA that has gone after the Catholic priests and actually having criminal trials for these priests, which is a lot more, and even asking that there be a autopsy on the cardinal to make sure he wasn't murdered.
He may have been murdered.
Unbelievable. So there's something about the Philly DA that's pretty aggressive as opposed to ours.
The Philadelphia police that I met too were nothing but professional, nice guys. Whereas the Pittsburgh police always seem to have a chip on their shoulders. And a friend of mine said, "You know why that is?" He said, "Because Philadelphia police, they don't have to pretend like they're badasses.
Yeah, everybody
They
knows.
are.
Yeah.
Because they're police officers in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And that can be pretty rough.
Yeah.
Well, whereas you deal with a cop who's like in the suburbs, like South Park, Upper St. Clair, something like that, they always have to pretend more that they're a tough guy.
That's right. I'm sure that there's some truth.
Hey, there's some mean streets in Upper St. Clair, pal.
Oh, sure.
I've walked down those alleyways.
My father used to say the best thing that ever came out of Upper St. Clair was an empty bus.
Hey, always good to talk to you.
All right, we'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye-bye.
But that just proves he didn't know what he's talking about, because nobody in Upper St. Clair
rides
is anything as louche as a bus. It's all the T. It's all the light rail.
Got that right. Okay, so quickly, a guy who has been in a position of authority almost since I can have been here in Pittsburgh is the head of the county health department, Dr. Bruce Dixon, who I understand even as we sit here might not be being canned. So what's gone on? I mean, if he was so incredible to keep it, through administration after administration after administration, and Rich Fitzgerald gets in and he actually redoes the board so that he can get Dixon off. What's that about?
Actually, this doesn't come as a huge surprise. There were some murmurings about it last year. I can recall Fitzgerald speaking at a candidates night event in the East End, I think it's Shadyside, where he talked a little bit about how he's had some concerns about how that office was being run. I have heard complaints and accusations that when facilities were looking for various kinds of discharge permits and stuff like that, they found that there was no time frame for when they would hear back, and then they just wouldn't hear back, that kind of stuff. So this may well have something to do with Fitzgerald's perception that things weren't moving as quickly as they should be moving in terms of issuing permits to to businesses and things like that. So I don't know exactly, I don't know who's right in all of this. I know that Dixon for a very long time has been celebrated for having some really very progressive ideas when it came to things like needle exchange,
public
and
health,
treatment, public health and treatment of AIDS and HIV. I don't know that he was universally popular in some other circles, though. Well,
the business community wasn't wild about him.
So that's right.
Okay.
Right. So there you go. Right.
But I do want to point out that he's 73.
Yeah, he's been around for a long time.
And
hard pressed to find somebody who's served in that capacity for that long a period.
Right.
In county government anywhere, I would think.
Now, it's weird because he was a professor. He's also a tenured professor at Pitt.
Yeah.
And I read that somehow his salary that the city, the county pays $170,000 or something to Pitt, who then passes that on to.
Yeah, it's weird.
So the county health administrator gets $170,000. What does Fitzgerald get?
Less than that. But that's not unusual. That's like if Cyril Wecht were listening right now, he would tell you that Cyril Wecht, as an elected county coroner, made, I think it was like $65,000.
But the medical
examiner who replaced him as an appointed position, that guy makes $180, something like that. It's a lot more money. So a lot of times you do find that appointed people, especially because they have professional expertise, so you do have to hire somebody and at least pay something close to competitive wages for what they could get in the private sector. So the fact that he's making that much money is not terribly unusual. The thing that's sort of interesting to me is that pass-through side of it, that it actually gets routed through.
Why would that be?
People have tried to explain it to me, actually, and I've never fully understood why.
Well, okay. Thank you, though.
Yeah, it's an interesting little wrinkle.
So, usually the person that you work for makes more than you. That's what happens with most of us. But in fact, you think of a football team, the players making more than the managers and the...
Right.
Not that anybody's starving. Okay.
Obviously, if you look at the average offensive lineman, yeah.
Are you feeling better?
I guess a little bit.
That's good.
Yeah.
I'm going to go rake leaves.
Dear me.
What do you mean, dear you? No. Sounds like fun to me. No. Thank you, Chris.
Good to be here.
And
Tom Sokolowski tomorrow?
Tom Sokolowski tomorrow.
Cool.
Okay. Toodaloo.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.